Hey guys, my name is Sarah Garcia, and I am the host of Generation Zen, and I have a very special guest today.
Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Eddie Morales. I'm a sixth year at Monmouth University. I played on the football team at my time there, and I'm very excited to be here and start this conversation with you.
I'm so excited too, and I just want to let the audience know too how amazing this connection was because I heard of you through Troy's testimony, and it got emotional because when I heard that he almost left Basilea, and you came in the room, and to Connor as well, and you were like, guys, like, no, it's chill. Like, I get that you're uncomfortable, but like, give it another day. Like, and I just know too, and I'm sure you know too, that was definitely God using you 100%. As a vessel in that moment. Because if you guys don't know, the next day, both of them gave their life to Christ.
Yeah. I mean, with Troy, it started like just from one conversation. I mean, I don't know if you guys spoke about it, but he had like a school project and we did it, and it was like an hour long. And then afterwards, he was asking me some questions because I brought up God and my faith in the interview. And he was asking me, how's your faith been going? Like, how have you got to this? And, we were talking, he was, very attentive, and I could tell he was very curious and wanted to kind of learn more about it. And then he invited me to his room, to his dorm, and we did like our own little, sit down and talk podcast kind of thing too. And then Connor was also there. Yeah. That's the first time I met him. And then, fast forward to Basilea, while they were there with me, I could tell they were just kind of nervous a little bit to be there at first. It was a big setting, a lot of people. They weren't used to that kind of thing. And then, like you said, they were going to leave, went back to the room, and I was talking to them. And, at the time, like, I just felt like it was my job to really try to help them grow in their faith. Yeah. And then, I spoke to them and, was kind of able to help them, talk out of leave. And they're like, all right, cool. Like, I'll stay, we'll stay kind of thing. And literally, like you said, the next day, we were having, worship, and then, they had a word they were speaking to us, and then, they kind of had a call, and they were like, if anybody in here is feeling that call from Jesus, like, stand up kind of thing. And it took a little bit, and then both of them stood up, and like, I couldn't even tell you like the feeling of it. Like, it was just like my little brothers that like I really was trying to bring to the Lord. Like, they stood up, and like you could tell they were just so excited. It went from like a nervousness to kind of being there to I don't know, this kind of thing, and to like a boldness of just standing up and be like, no, like this is what I need. And
wow.
They had me crying and stuff like that. It was probably one of my most beautiful things, just being at Monmouth. Like, I'll never forget that. It was awesome.
And it's just those seeds that you planted.
Yeah.
Because in that conversation, the first time with Troy, if you would have spoke about your faith, then he'd be like, that's cool, bro.
Right.
Like, that doesn't have to do with the project.
Right.
Because some people, I think, have the openness, but everyone has the ears to hear, and everyone has the same capacity to be indulged in the conversation, how Troy was.
Right.
But it was because of that he was actually active listening and listening to what you had to say.
100%.
And he even said, I think here, he was like, I was mad uncomfortable too. Because he was like, what is this man talking about? But then, too, we spoke briefly how the way that we feel at times with the Lord's presence is something that is hard to translate to other people.
Right.
Because we can speak about our testimonies in our life and the way that God has done 180s. Yeah. But it doesn't mean when we talk about it that it's like, okay, this is exactly what's going to happen to you. Because it takes that time. And it took them the journey that it took them in Basilea and like the different emotions that they experienced.
I think the biggest thing while growing with them and kind of seeing where they grow in their faith now is that like you just, like, us as Christians and believers in Jesus, like, if we're just us, right, like the true people that like God made, like, that is what is going to win people over, to Jesus. Like, that was the thing I noticed with Troy, because, it's not like I know the whole Bible inside and out, you know what I'm saying? I'm growing still in my faith a lot, but I think that's kind of what, like, he respected and saw. Like I've known Troy for a while. Like, he my dad used to coach him in basketball when he was younger. Like I knew of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he always knew of me. And it was a kind of thing where, like, once I met him in college, he was like, oh, like, his dad used to coach me, and I played sports. I was a few years older than him. We went to the same high school. And, so he always see me, he always heard me, and now we had a chance to talk and have a conversation. And I think what was important, actually, at the time, I didn't even really notice, but like I was just being me, you know what I'm saying? And you might have had this feeling, oh, he's on the football team, like he does this, he does that, but like while I was just being just the man of God that he made me be, in the conversation that we had, it was just so real and genuine. Like that is what I think really
captivated him.
Exactly. And wanted to kickstart his faith, because it wasn't like some, it wasn't just like a conversation. Oh, like, yeah, no, I know God, like this and that. Like
Right.
I was really just trying to be truthful in how God worked in my life and how he's changed my heart, and how, I might have been going one way and how he completely redirected me and started me on this new path, and me being real in those steps, and how God's changed me and the things that I've worked to get over and overcome, and me speaking from the heart and the heart that God gave me now. I think that is the biggest thing, which helped, people like Troy and Connor really grasp that, because they're like, okay, like, Eddie, like, he's cool, he's funny, this and that, but that's a man of God who's being real in his testimony and in his story, that God brought him out from real things that people deal with, that they might have dealt with. And I met with them at that level, what I'm saying? And they kind of understood that. And I think that's really where I saw Troy originally take off. Because Troy, like, he's just the most genuine, like, real person. And I think that's what really won his heart over when I spoke to him at first, what I'm saying? And then, like I said, we know how he is now. He's just taking off.
You said John the Baptist?
But like his own prophet now, like doing his own thing.
But okay, so I want to talk about the things that you had to overcome and the way that the Lord moved you and how your heart shifted.
Right. So I would say, kind of just go back a little bit. I grew up in the Catholic Church, right? And I went to church like every weekend with my family, like the same church since, I moved here from New York originally. And I never I knew who God was and I knew who Jesus was just from going to church and CCD and things like that. But I never knew God, like, you know the difference. And it wasn't until it was after COVID happened. And then I started to live on Monmouth for the first time. And then one of my teammates, shout out Ali if you watch this, but he brought me to Searchlight Church, which is a Christian church, which was the first time that I started going to a Christian church. And it was completely different. Like, just you go in there so welcoming, like, people will treat you and act like they've known you for years, like they genuinely love you. The worship, like the word and the sermon was straight from the word, like things I never knew was that's how it went, just from the church that I went. That wasn't the experience that I had. And I went the first time and I was like, wow, like, okay, like this feels a lot different. Like it felt better, but I couldn't really explain it at the time. So I kept going. And then I went to Basileia for the first time 2 years ago. And that was like the first time in my life where I met God. I'll never forget, I was reading John chapter 8. It's a story about like the Pharisees and stuff and how they were towards Christ. And first, I was going through something at that time, and I read the whole chapter. And at the end, like I couldn't do nothing but just like place my Bible down on the table and sit back. And I was speechless at first. I didn't know what to say, and then I just felt like, it's hard to explain sometimes. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it was just like a peace and like just like a warm hover, like a hug and a blanket just wrapped around me, and that I could just sit back into it and just be like, kind of thing,
Relieved.
And that was the first time where I really felt God's presence in my life, like over me. And honestly, from that point forward, I knew who it was and I knew where it was from. And honestly, like I've never looked back. And you have that up and down journey and things like that, but I knew that was Jesus with me at that moment, and I never really looked back since. And since then, I've continuously gone to the same church and now we're in Bible studies and, going on these trips, together and stuff. But that's what really kickstarted my faith, was my friend bringing me to that new church, him showing me, what it is to really be in fellowship with other Christians and be a community that do things together and loves each other. And then also me getting to my Bible for the first time. It was around that same time where I read the Bible for the first time, which is crazy because, I've been in the church for 20 years of my life, and I never really was pushed towards that
opening
at that church openly. You know what I'm saying? And then once I did do that, and I was in that area of my life, and I was like, you know what? Let me get this and open it up and see what it's about. And like right away, like God's changed my mind and my heart, and just took me on a completely different path. And now it's just such an excitement. You know what I'm saying? It's not just like, I want to know God, just this and that, and just to help me in my life. Like, it's like such an excitement to like want to pursue Him.
Wait, I just thought of a really good scripture.
Oh,
continue.
No, and it's that excitement too that really just like, it's just I want to get to know Him more, and just to see what He did in my heart, and just to know that He can do so much more in my life, and so much more in my life, and also the way He changed me, to also see the people around me also change and see how I've changed. I was like, this is it. Like this is the way. Like this is.
And I feel like the first time I ever met you, you just have like these leadership, like discipleship qualities, and it's so amazing. And like to know that, I think the humility that comes with those conversations that get people captivated is like, I wasn't always like this. It took a change of heart. Like I was a completely different person. And sometimes it's hard for people to wrap their head around. I know that it happens so fast too. And people are like, that's impossible. But it's not. It's not. And just to know too that like you have so many leadership and disciple qualities, but to be able to vocalize and say like, hey, this took time and it took God to put it in my heart and to grow towards it. It wasn't I wasn't born like this.
No, 100%.
I mean, God put it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it took a little bit to get there, but
okay. This is Revelation 3:20, because when you just said, okay, here it is. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they with me. So, like,
that's just that right there.
I think some people, this is speaking for everybody, is that sometimes we doubt God's love for us. But God says, no, you guys all don't love me the same. I love all of you the same. He says, I'm at the door knocking. And I'm just waiting for you guys to open the door. He's just always right there. And all we have to do is open the door.
He always has been right there.
Yeah. And sometimes we crack it and we shut it. I don't know. Right, because we doubt. But no, he says here that he's just there waiting. And we have a seat there. He's always there waiting. And I think some people are under this feeling that maybe God's love isn't for them, or maybe I'm not worthy enough, or maybe my sins are chained to me and I can't break my past. And maybe I'm not, because of the things that I've done, God doesn't see me the same way He sees somebody who's like preaching the gospel. But then we can always go back and say, like, we were all once dead in our transgressions.
Yes. I think that brought to me recently. I've had a conversation with somebody who's close to me in my life, and I was sitting with her, and she asked me, kind of along exactly what we're talking about, like two things we were talking about. The first thing, she was like, Ed, like I kind of want to start going to church. I kind of want to start meeting God. And she was like, one of the things was that I've known her for like 4 or 5 years now. And one of the things was like, she's seen the change in me as a person from when she knew me when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, to where I am now. She's personally has seen it changing peace, like how I act with people, how I am, just how I'm not like worried or anxious anymore. And she was like kind of, how do you get there? And then to go along exactly what you were just saying, she asked me, well, she was like, that was the one of the first things was like, how do you, like, where do you start? Like, where do you start your walk with God? Like, how do you begin that? Like, where did you even go? Like, you just read the Bible? Where in the Bible? Did you pray? Like, you know, she was genuinely asking. And then the second thing was that, you know, and I kind of talked to her about that too. And I was like, listen, like, all you have to do is just like, you have that feeling in your heart, exactly what you just read. Like, he knocks, and her asking those questions and her being curious is that knocking on the door. And I was like, listen to that. Like, that's, you're not just feeling that for no reason. That's your soul wanting to know God. You know what I'm saying? And the second thing that she mentioned, which is that what you were talking about before, is that she was like, I feel like sometimes I've done so wrong that how can I just come to God and be forgiven? And that hit a different spot in my heart, because I feel like that's, like you said, that's what so many people feel. It's like,
that's what I felt.
Yeah, it's like, and then you read the Bible and you talk to people who are of Christ, and you know, like, you can't do this, and that, and they try to go away from this, and it's like, but I've done all those things. Like, how can I have done all those things my whole life, and then just come to God and just, I have a new life and be forgiven? And that to me was like huge, because I felt that, like you said, you felt that. And like, I just want everybody to know who's watching, like, I promise you, like, it doesn't matter like what you've done. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter how long you did it for. I promise you, like, grace, God's grace is so sufficient that his love for you, he just wants you to come back home. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter where it was in your life, like how long you've been in your life, what you've done to who, this and that. He can forgive all of that, and he just wants you to come back home to him.
Even if you're still in a place of darkness or addiction or anything, like, just to know that you're able to break free from that. It's so easily. And I know it's a hard concept to wrap around, but that's the faith. It's the faith knowing that, look at what today is, or, well, yesterday was Good Friday, but Jesus already knew everything you were going to do. And we kind of got into it the other night, but sometimes, like, it's once you, now, you know, you have different labels, right? Our child of God, and we're not tied to what our sins labeled us in the past anymore. It's hard to think, like, the blood of Jesus was what was able to clear everything. Like, that, it was already all paid for. Even if it's something you're battling now, just know that the victory is already won. I literally get emotional.
I got the chills already. Like, you could.
But like, the victory is already won. Like, if you're in that darkness, if you think you're never gonna get out of it, like, that's a lie. Like, that's just the enemy telling you that you're gonna be in that forever. And
but that's perfect too. Like, because that's the thing. Like, I feel like I came to a realization that like you don't have to, like, you don't, it's not you like trying your hardest and your all to overcome these things, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's Jesus, like, Jesus already overcame all of that already. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it, he was the most perfect human being, the only perfect human being that ever graced this earth. He knew Judas was going to betray him. You know what I'm saying? He sat with him at the dinner table and loved him. Literally sat and ate dinner.
Washed his feet.
Washed his feet. You know what I'm saying? He knew exactly everything that was going to happen, yet he did what he did for you, for me. You know what I'm saying? He knew that he did it for the person that, everybody who started from the beginning of time, for when he was alive, and every person that came after him. He did it for every single person, because that's just God's love. And sometimes it's hard to wrap our mind around that. But we're not him. You know what I'm saying? Like, his love is so grand and so great.
We'll never be able to understand.
We'll never be able to fully understand.
I think the reason I get emotional is because you think back when we were dead in our transgressions, how, like, we were sinning nonstop. we didn't have the conviction, but it was normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like the societal norms, you know, we had our flesh get the best of us. But to know that like he was there with us, even while we were doing everything that was opposite of what was in store for us. Yeah. Like he was so patient with us.
Yeah.
Even when we weren't seeking him, he was still there.
Yeah. I think my friend told me this once, and like it completely shifted my perspective of how God sees us. Mm-hmm. So I forget exactly the conversation, but we were talking about like trying to get over sin and temptation. And she was like, Ed, like, I think you're looking at it wrong. Mm. She was like, if you do something and, you know, you feel that conviction, she's like, you're looking at it as if God's like, oh, like, there he goes again. There she goes again, doing that again. Mm-hmm. But it's not that. She was like, think of it this way. It's more of like, it's okay, my son. Like, it's okay, my daughter. Come here. Like, I knew you were going to do this, but I'm here for you. Like, it's okay. Like, come here to me. Like, for me, that's what that shift. Yeah. I will never forget her saying that, because I was looking at what I did and I just felt so much shame from it.
I was about to say, there's no more shame anymore. Yeah. I've said this a few times now, but if you think about the cycle of temptation and sin, think about when you're being tempted. It's the enemy saying like, you deserve this, or you should do this, or like, you know, sit back, relax, like, you know, like you've been doing so much Bible study, like take a break. Yeah. But then let's say you give into the temptation and then you feel the shame and you're like, well, I can't lead a Bible study tomorrow. Yeah. Look at what I did. Like and then sometimes that happens, but the same person who got you into tempting or got you into giving into the temptation is the same person who makes you feel the shame afterwards.
Thanks.
So I just thought it was crazy to see it from that perspective, that the same person, the enemy gets us to give into our sin just so that he could stray us away from God, thinking that we're unworthy now. Yeah. But it's just so manipulative.
Remember too, like exactly, and like he knows like the things we struggle with and stuff, and he'll attack that in ways that like we might not originally just be like, oh, okay, like he's attacking me. You know what I'm saying? Like you just might think like that's yourself or like that's your own thoughts. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like now that's where that shame comes in. It's like, oh, like I'm supposed to be this man, woman of God, but yet I'm having these thoughts or I'm doing these things. Yeah. Like,
maybe I'm not made new. Exactly. Maybe it's not real.
Exactly. Because remember, like he doesn't want us to come to Jesus. He knows who Jesus is. Demons know who Jesus is. Mm-hmm. They all tremble at his feet because they know how powerful he is. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to get us away from that and do things that take us away from God. And that's the thing too, like once you do come to God and once you meet Jesus and stuff, like I'm sure you felt it, like it doesn't get easier. You get tempted with more things.
Kind of worse.
It's worse.
Because before, I think he's chilling. Like the enemy's like, you know, she's just not thinking of it from an eternal perspective. Mm-hmm. She's still in her earthly ways, you know, like I don't have to really tempt her that much. Right. But then, you know, we become disciples to his kingdom. And then he's like, okay, you know, like there's one more into the kingdom of heaven. But wait, she's leading people she's getting more people to the kingdom of heaven. Like not only herself, but now, you know, so I think that's why sometimes we're in danger, because it's like, okay, well, she's actually facilitating not only herself, but like all these other people. Like I have to kind of tear her down, like make sure she.
Yeah, no, definitely. And my dad said this too, and it makes sense. Is that when we're like when people aren't on, you know, their walk with Christ, and you know they're not like fully trying to live their lives like devoted to Jesus, right? The devil really doesn't have to do much because they're already distracted, right? Like they already are, worrying about these things, doing these things. Like they're not pursuing God. Like you said, they're not pursuing God, and they're also not like leading other people to God. So like they're already in their own ways, doing their own things. Like, so they're already distracted. And at the end of the day, like that's what the devil tries to do, just distract you from the love and the grace of God and who he is. But it's when you come to Christ and you come to God, when you might start to feel more, like a lot more, like not even just attacks or just even temptations to want to do things and this and that, but just like that's where you just have to stand firm in your faith. And I think the biggest thing that's important with that is, now that I've been in my faith for like a few years, is it's just to remember where like God has brought you from, and remember those times where you might have been in those valleys, and God willing, like you came out of those. Remember that whole situation, where you were, how you felt. And now when God brought you out of that, like why you might have been there, like what you can learn from there, and still know that the grace of God took you out of that, and to go back to and remember it. Like that's for me, like what for me, like I'll never forget is I remember where I was and how I felt. And because I was a very anxious person, I worried a lot about things, and the future was like the biggest thing. Like, I don't know what I wanted to do. Like, I was always worrying about it. And then God brought me out of all that, and he was like, listen, like you are here, like you're present. And I think this is a perfect time. I think we were talking about some the other day, and I seen this on one of my friends had this on her Instagram story, and it's a commentary, but it's from Lamentations 3:22-23. But the commentary says, God's mercies are new every day, but we are not fully present with where God has placed us. But if we are not fully present with where God placed us, we won't be able to bask in these mercies. Now, this is the one that got me. When we are not present, we deprive ourselves from experiencing God's full measure of goodness in our lives, in a particular moment or in a day. Like think about that.
And I think we're all guilty of that.
Yes.
We're all like, okay, what do we, I have to know what I'm doing, the 5 and 10 year goals.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, like it's good to have goals, but how realistic are those?
Yes, exactly.
With life happening.
Exactly.
Regardless if you're religious or not, like life happens.
Yes. Yes.
And it's all about, you go through the pains and the sufferings, and it's, do you go all the way backwards, or are you going to let that transform you into a Romans 8:28?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or are you going to let it be something beautiful out of the pain and suffering?
I think another thing too is like a little bit more of my testimony is like I mentioned, like I'm a 6-year at Monmouth, right? And I didn't expect to be here for 6 years, right? Like I was like, football 4 years, get my degree, and I'm out. But again, back to like what it says, like being present, like as we pray, like, praying for your daily bread. Because like COVID happened, and all athletes, at least, in Division I level, got an extra year, right? So, but I was here last year, right? My 5th year. And then, again, it was a time where, I was worried about the future. It was kind of getting close to possibly playing at the next level, this and that. And then boom, like first I sprained my shoulder, and then I was out for 2 games. That stunk. And, I was, I felt like, I want to play, like it's all right. But I knew I was coming back. Literally the game I came back, broke my arm. The game I came back, broke my arm. And I knew at that moment, like, the season's done. Like, my arm, like, it's done. Like, I can't feel it. Like, I already know. I went to the sideline, my trainer grabbed him, and he was like, yeah, like, it's broken. And, like, I was crying right there, like, on the way back. Like, because, like I mentioned to you before, like football and sports has been my whole life since I was young. Like played 3 sports all year round. Like it was everything. And now I got to a point in my life where I was at a possibility to try to make my dreams come true. And when I first got to Monmouth, like I was a walk-on, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like I was really brought here because I was wanted to be there kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, like you're a good player, like, come on and you could join the team kind of thing. And for me to have the career that I had, thank God, obviously, and to be where I was at that point in my 5th year, I was like, wow, like I'm right here. Like I wasn't supposed to be here. I didn't even know or think this could happen, but I'm here. Like I had the opportunity to possibly play professionally at the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Then boom, it just at that moment, it just all like shot out the window for me. I thought it was over, and I sat with I got surgery that week, and I just had to sit in my house, and my parents were working, my sister was at school, so it was just me on the couch all day, and I was just sitting with that, and it wasn't towards the end of that, once I started getting healthier and going out, when I was like, God met me there. God, like, he really met me there, and I realized that there's things that God still needs me to do and be a part of here at Monmouth, and that's where it comes back to being present, and his mercy and every day, being present in that, and just staying present in where you are, because like I said, like I thought I was gonna do 4 years out, like try to figure it out, this and that. Now it's 2024, and I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? And I really felt that God had, and we were talking about Troy and Connor before. If all that stuff didn't happen, I don't meet Troy. I don't have that conversation with Troy. I don't have that with Connor. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that God couldn't meet them elsewhere or through somebody else, because God can do anything through anyone at any time. But the timing of it, and that was last year, and now he allowed me to be back here again this year, and now we're growing with each other tremendously. Like we do everything with each other. We fellowship, read, talk for hours, go to church, worship, Bible studies. Like now we're able to grow with each other, and now you have Troy who's leading his own Bible study with his own group. You have Connor who started his own Bible study on the side that we all go to, and it's so beautiful to see that, and I'm just so grateful. Like that's the only word I can say. I'm just so grateful to just be here and be a part of it. And it's funny because a few years ago I was upset. I'm like why did this happen to me?
You're like
why?
I don't want to be here for longer.
Exactly. Like why is this happening to me? And now that I'm here right now, like fully healthy and stuff like that, I'm like, God, like, thank you for allowing me to be here. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it went from like why is this happening to me? Like, why
you wouldn't be here right now?
I would not be here right now. I wouldn't have met you. Think about it. And the amount of people that I've met in the past 2 years and the extra 2 years I've had, the amount of growth that I've had as a human being, as a man of God, that's why those things needed to happen. And I think those are times in people's lives where when you are going through other things and you're going through something and you look back and you've seen the person that you became and you've seen the growth that you made and the growth that you made with other people, like those are just sitting on those daily moments. Like, and like we were talking about it before, like I'm at a point in my life now where like I'm at such a piece of wherever God takes me. And if it is professional football, cool. Like I wanted that my whole life, like awesome. You know what I'm saying? But if it's not, like I'm at a piece where like I just know that like God's taking me somewhere that I might not know why or understand why yet, but I know that so much goodness and so much just love and everything's gonna come out of it because He's already done it. You know what I'm saying?
You're just the peace that comes from, because I think I was the same way. Like I had to have a full like by the hour schedule for like today, the next day, the day after that. But then just knowing that like, the Jesus calling. Read that one word. That was good. It was the one word.
Which one?
It's the 30th.
It's the 30th. Yeah.
Or read this paragraph.
Okay. Before you arise from your bed in the morning, I have already arranged the events of your day. Every day provides many opportunities for you to learn my ways and grow closer to me. Signs of my presence brighten even the dullest day when you have eyes that really see. Search me as for hidden treasure. I will be found by you.
Amen.
Amen. So that, but that's so real. Like, and that's where I feel like I changed, is that I wasn't waking up worrying about, I got to do this and this to try to get there.
Right.
You know, I got to do this. I woke up and I was just like Jesus, thank you for just opening my eyes this morning, just to breathe more breath into my lungs this morning. because stuff happens every day, and anything can happen at any given moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're so much caught up in, and it's just how society is. We're just so
caught up in ourselves almost too.
Yeah. It's always like the next thing, and then what I have to do, like what can I do? But it's like God's like it said, I already have it arranged for you. Like, I have it for you. If you just trust in me and like just come to me and just ask me to just be a lampstand to your feet and just follow me. And that's the thing. Like with I don't know, I forget where that verse is, but like it's not like God's, it's not like he shines a beam and he's like, look at your path. I'm saying, like, this is where you're going. It's no, like, I will show you the steps in front of you. Like, I'm only going to show you this. You know what I'm saying? Like, take those steps with me. Like, I'm holding your hand, follow me, and trust in me. You know what I'm saying? Because if he shows you the whole thing and where you're going, you might want to try to manipulate it, or you might be like, I don't know this. But if you just trust in where he's taking you, you just take a step. Every single day you just wake up and just be grateful for where you're at and where he has you, and you just fully trust in what he has for you throughout that day. Like, you don't know in that day what's gonna happen. Like, we met a few days ago. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, like, we're like pretty much besties now. That's at this point. Like, you know what I'm saying? The amount of conversations we had already, it was like I've known you for years. Yeah. But like that's exactly like to this point. Like, you don't know who you're gonna meet. You don't know the situation you're gonna be in. You don't know if God brings you opportunity that you didn't even know existed.
Right. But yeah, like I could say like that. This is good. Okay. I remember I was like thinking like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm going to do like for my next, like, I want to have another person on, like, I had a few, and I was like kind of worried because I wanted to make sure I had another episode out. But then I just remember like when I met you, I was like, wait, I said, I think I asked you like on the spot, like, could you?
I never remind you like 20 minutes before she asked me, like.
No, but it was just like God knew. Yep. God knew I was going to meet you to be able to ask you to be here right now. Right. But I didn't know. Right. There was no point of me stressing about it because he already had it all written out. Yep. He'll always have it written out. We don't have to.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's in that. That's just in that trust. And like, it's when you first get into your role, and like I said, I'm only really like a few years into it, so it's not even like years and years and all this stuff. But like, that's the thing, like, you don't have to be like, he meets you exactly where you are. Like, it doesn't matter what you've done, it doesn't matter where in your life you are. Like, if you just listen to that knock, like Revelations 3:20 said, and you just open the door and just allow him into your life and allow him into your heart, he will take you right from where you are and completely transform you into who he wants you to be. You know what I'm saying? And for me, when I first met him, it's not like I wanted to continue to do the things that I did. It was, everyone struggles with different things, and you might not be able to God very well could just be able to stop something right away. But sometimes I feel like he allows you to go through things and suffer through things so that the next person that you share that with doesn't have to go through that.
Exactly.
Just like 1 Corinthians 13. Sorry, 1 Corinthians 13, 113 or 10:13. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Read that. Yeah.
Okay, 1 Corinthians 10. I opened it up the other way earlier. It was like that.
Yeah, definitely read that. 10:13.
No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it.
Like sit with that. Like,
sit with that. That's good.
Like, I was listening to a podcast one time, and they mentioned that, and God needed me to hear that because it hit me. Like, the thing about that is, and that's the thing, back to the point where people feel like they're going through things they can't get out of, is that when the devil attacks, a lot of times he makes you feel like you're the only one who's dealing with it. Or
there's only one way, which is giving in.
Yes.
But he says that he will provide a way out so that you're able to endure it.
Yes. So there's like, just because you're suffering and going through things, like, he is there with you, and he's providing you a way to get out of that. And like, for example, like perfect example with my injury, So I went to a conference one time. This was literally like a few months after I broke my arm, and one of the leaders who was there asked me to share, my testimony. There was athletes, and I just got injured, my season ended, and I already talked to her kind of how God worked me through it. She was like, perfect. Like, can you please share? I'm like, absolutely. I'll talk about God 24/7, 7 days a week. So I was sharing it, and like that's the thing. You never know who's listening. You never know the words you say really impact anyone. So that was like in November, and then literally like 6, 7, 8 months later, right? This girl texted me on Instagram, and she was there, and she was basically along the lines of like, I don't know if this is weird, da 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 da. Like, I met you like a few months ago, but I just recently like had an injury, and I think I can't remember, but I think it might have it was taken out the whole season, or she would have been out like a long time. She was dealing with something. And she was like, I remember at that conference, your testimony and everything you said. And she was like, I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you for sharing that and being bold in that, because I feel like I can get through this. Like, I feel way better being able to go through this situation now that you shared that, and now that I've seen what God has taken you through and got you out of it. Now, for me, that's where that verse came in, because it was like, okay, for me at that point, I thought it was the end of the world. Like, I can't play sports, I can't do this and that. But he provided a way out. And he provided me a way out of that. And now I grew closer to him, but at the same time,
you brought people closer to him.
My testimony, glory to God, obviously, not me, is what allowed somebody else who's going through a similar situation to not have to feel like what I was feeling. Feelings of like, loneliness, of, this is not going to happen anymore. This can't happen anymore. And she felt hope in that situation that she was going through. And like, to me, that was one of the most beautiful things. And like I said, it was months after. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. Like, when you share your testimony and stuff, like, you don't know what you say, how it affects somebody, what they pick up on. Like, that's why if you're just yourself and you just share what God has done with your life.
Exactly. And I think we've talked about this more, but some like testimonies I full-heartedly believe are, yes, glory to God, he gave us that story, he gave us that new identity through him, but our past selves and the way we are now and how we got there and what we had to overcome, because everybody's testimony is different. That's the beauty of testimonies. Nobody's is the same. Maybe there's a lot of people who have the same, like college life, like getting sucked in and then you're taken out of it by the grace of the Lord. But there's different things, and the journeys are different. But everyone's testimony, I fully believe, is shaped in a way to target different people and what they are going through.
Yes. Amen. I think I've seen that personally with like I said, because I was on the football team, and with younger people on the team who I've been able to grow with over the past year, is that, and that's what's so important that we talked about before, is just being who God made you to be, regardless of where you're at, regardless of who you're around, is that sometimes we have, like, God blesses us with an opportunity to be a leader in some situations, and to put us in positions where people might, look at us for help, or just watch what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And us being who you are, and that's like, yes, like, if my testimony and me sharing it to you could 1,000% be able to shift someone's mind. But I feel like what I really noticed lately is that me just fully devoting myself to the walk that Jesus has for me, and being that man of God, and living it, and not just being that at Bible studies, but being that no matter where I am, and as best as I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, that I've seen is what has really brought people to God. And like you mentioned before, like, with the leadership, things like that, like, I feel like I've always had that. And my dad always instilled in me, like, you're not a follower, you're a leader, kind of thing, this and that. But I feel like God was cultivating that my whole entire life.
Even when you were more quiet.
Even when I was quiet, and like, we talked about that, where like I I wasn't as like vocal. I was a lot more quiet of a person when I was
to
younger.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly, to myself, and I was more of that leader and stuff, like on a field or on the court or things like that. Like people saw that in me, but it was like towards sports. But even though I might not have been fully in my walk with God, He was cultivating that, and He was growing those skills, and He was allowing me to grow in that, to be able to, when I did fully give my life to Him, when I fully was like, Jesus, like just take all of me and use all of me for whatever you need to do, like in my life, like just do it through me. Like now those skills and everything He's allowed me to learn, and how to talk to people, how to lead people, like now it's for His kingdom. You know what I mean? And that's,
wow, I just got chills.
Oh, like that's me. It's just like I don't care what football team, anything on, but whatever sport you play, whatever activity is that you do, like when you could be that leader in the community of God, and bring people like towards Him, like like it just hits so differently, because you see the change in people's hearts. You can, over time, you can see how just you being you, and who you being the person that God made you to be, how that affected the hearts of other people. And now they want to be like, oh, like I mentioned, like my one friend before, she was like, I've seen the change in you. Like, how do I be that way? Like, how do I get that peace? How do I get that joy that you don't understand?
And then that sets the platform for you to be like, well,
I got you. Exactly.
There's only one way.
Exactly.
But I feel like this was I'm trying to think of a good like title for this. I feel like we kind of went all over. It was really good.
I know. I mean, God just, we felt them too. Like, I got chills, you got chills.
I got teary.
I got teary. I was here for you, you got teary.
I feel like this is a sweet spot to end it, right?
No, I think so. I think that was good.
It was. And we also know that, like, so many people can listen to this, but the whole purpose is for it to resonate, or even small pieces with one person. It's just like that what's it called? The rippling effect. Yeah. The rippling effect. Yeah. So I just want to thank everyone who's listening, and I just ask for you to share it with a friend, to be able to spread the good news. And I'm just praying for you guys. I love you guys, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, God bless you guys. Bye.
God bless y'all.